Hello, welcome to Yarn Chaos episode 6. My name is Birgitta. I am a maker from Iceland, and this is my corner of YouTube where I talk about my hand makes, whether it's knitting or sometimes crochet and sometimes sewing. So far it's been mostly knitting, a little bit of crochet, but I will be showing some sewing in a couple of future episodes. I'm actually going on a sewing retreat in the second weekend of March, and we will be there from Thursday until Sunday. So that's a lot of sewing time, like uninterrupted sewing time. So I'm really excited about that. I'll be going with my mom, and we've done this a few times before. So I'm excited to get my sewing machine out and languishing projects because I don't sew as much as I do other things. So I'm excited. I've got a couple of blankets that I've started, and I'm looking forward to making some progress on. You can find me on Instagram under Yarn Chaos. You can find me pretty much there. I do have a Ravelry account, Birgitta, and it's just not active. I go on Ravelry for for patterns. Yeah, basically just to favorite a couple of patterns that I like or to get inspiration. I don't put my finished objects on there. I've got some older ones if you want to take a look at it. But majority of my stuff will be on the Yarn Chaos Instagram that I show here. I also have an older Instagram. It's called Handmade and Off-Centered. I'll put it on the screen. That is, if you just want to see what I've gotten up to since, I don't know, 2014, I think I've had it. I'm not sure. I've got some older projects there. And like if you scroll way down, you'll see more crochet projects. So for this episode, I thought I'd talk about what I'm wearing, talk about finished objects, works in progress. I went to the city and picked up a couple of things. So I'm excited about that. A couple of knitting things, knitting notions, and some yarn. So I'll talk about that later on. But welcome if you are a returning viewer. I appreciate you so much. I've gotten a lot of new subscribers, and I just appreciate you coming back. And if you're new here, I'm also new here, so if I'm stumbling a little bit in this, I apologize. It is my 6th episode, but it just doesn't seem to get easier. At least the intro and the beginning bits of starting the podcast, it all just feels a little awkward. But as I start rambling and talking, it just, I ease up a little bit and it gets a little easier. So, bear with me. But I want to also thank you guys for the warm welcome from my last podcast. I had my mom on. I often talk about her being my knitting guru. And for me, it's just so true. She was very humble about it and didn't find herself to be worthy of such a title. But in my eyes, she is. And we are knitting besties. I have totally fallen in love with knitting, and it's thanks to her. So she's always been very crafty, she's very talented and creative, and she has a driving need to be creating something pretty much every day. So, and she can do it all pretty much. I love that you guys loved her, and I'll definitely be bringing her on the podcast more, so stay tuned for that. I was thinking maybe I start on what I'm wearing. This is made out of cotton and linen yarn that I had in stash. I had made a Madewell sweater by Joji Locatelli, and the yarn I used was just the yarn I used just it didn't do the pattern justice because it was just too heavy, being a linen cotton blend, and the sweater was long sleeve. It ended up becoming stretching after the wash, and I had a lot of puckering at the elbow, and it just looked frumpy. And that's just like a classic example when pattern and yarn just does not go together. And it wasn't the recommended yarn that Hohi had. I just had it in stash and wanted to make like a cotton linen cardigan, and yeah, that was not a good idea on my part. So I ended up frogging it, and I had all this leftover yarn, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's some sort of a cotton linen blend. And I decided just to make a cropped t-shirt to have over like dresses in the summertime. And this is just a drop shoulder, so you work in the round, no, you start at the top and you work back and forth doing like eyelets, and you do front and back, and then you connect it, and it hits like right below my natural waist. And I actually had another sweater on, and getting all the stuff ready for the podcast and stuff, I just got overheated because yeah, we don't use air conditioning in our house. We use heat because it's cold outside. So our homes are very comfortable, and you can wear just an undershirt really in the house because it's at a comfortable temperature. And so wearing a wool sweater indoors is not something you do often. So unless you have like the window open and you're airing out the place. So I had to take that sweater off, and I was like, oh, I'll just put this on. And it's so light. And the minute I put this on and just sat down, kind of got myself ready to podcast, I just felt like my body temperature drop and got more comfortable. So this as a summer knit is just highly recommend. I wear it over dresses, and it's just light. Like, it doesn't feel heavy, but as like a long sleeve sweater, this was not the yarn for that. So I'm learning. You know, you make things, you have to frog them all back, and you know, learn by doing. So so definitely recommend this as a summer knit. I thought I would talk about finished objects. I made I have two things to show you. So I have these wool fingerless mitts and everyday slouchy beanie. I'll talk about the mitts first. So this winter, I made these probably, I want to say in the beginning of January, and I just wanted some woolly mitts. I needed something easy on the needles. I think I just wanted a palette cleanser, and I had some, this is léttlopi, and I don't know if you can tell, these are actually pretty big, so I will put them on for you. So I just made this up in my head. I just cast on stitches, and they seem to fit, right? Like they look good, but they're too loose, and they just kind of travel up, and I made them a little too big, but my plan is to felt them. So if you watched my previous episode, I showed pumpkin spice latte mittens by Ellie of Iceknits, and I had made them way too big too, and they were like way too big. They like flopped here. There was like way too much fabric at the top. And yeah, I tell a story about how it got accidentally, it was supposed to be felted, but it accidentally also went into the dryer, and they felted a lot. And like, to my surprise and my mom's surprise, they still fit in my hands. I thought I'd have to give it to my younger daughter, but I blocked them and kind of stretched out right here a little bit, and they actually fit so good. And so then I remembered that I had made these gloves, and I just kind of chucked them away. I have like a little rolling side table where I have some of my knitting bags and things, and it just kind of went there, and I just kind of forgot about them. But after, see, it's just a little too much fabric here. Like, I'd have to, like, that's a lot of extra fabric. But my plan is to felt them. If they get too small, my my younger two can use them. But this is great for when you, you know, need the tip of your fingers, but it's cold out, and grabbing the steering wheel in the morning, or, you know, scraping the ice off the car or whatever. This would be great to just have in the car. So I'll let you know how that turns out. I plan on throwing it in the wash on 40 degrees Celsius, possibly twice with some other things so it felts. I don't plan on putting it in the dryer. I'm gonna then let them dry, just air dry, and try it on. Yeah, but surprisingly the other mittens went through the dryer and were actually okay. It's just shocking. Don't recommend it. Definitely don't recommend it, but turned out okay in our case. So I'll let you know how these go. And I don't have a pattern for these. Like I said, I just kind of made it up from just you know, just previous knowledge of making mitts or something. But yeah. So, but this one does have a pattern. This is the Slouchy Beanie, no, the Everyday Slouchy Beanie by Kristen from Dragon Horde Yarns. And I used arwetta, I'll put it on the screen, yarn held double with mohair in a similar color. And it was a kidsilk mohair. Seems to be my go-to mohair. It's affordable and accessible. So, but I love slouchy beanies. Like, I'll put them on. So if I had my hair down, I mean, my hair is always in a bun most of the time, but when I do wear hats, I do prefer to have my hair down. But sometimes I don't. I just throw it on, take the dog out for a walk or whatever. But it kind of looks like a mushroom, which I'm not hating, but it has a double brim here, so it covers your ears really well, keeps the wind from getting in there, and there's all this extra squishy goodness for hair, or lack thereof, and it just becomes slouchy. But I think it's cute. Like, I love the, you know, look. I think it does look better when you have your hair down, but this, and it's funny because I have another Everyday Slouchy Beanie, and it's made out of a yellow yarn held double with a white mohair. So I have two yellowish Everyday Slouchy Beanies. But I just love this pattern. It's a pattern that I knit all the time. And yeah, so I haven't worn this, I haven't washed it, and I still have two ends to weave in. So, but I'm counting it done. Like, I'm counting it done. I'll finish putting the ends away and then I'll start wearing it. And it's super soft. The arwetta yarn is, like, I'm in love with that yarn. It's like great for just so many things. And it's a yarn that I wouldn't mind having a couple in my yarn stash. I've been using it for hats. I used it for the Oslo hat, held double. And yeah, I think it's just, it has a good color range, and I've fallen in love with that yarn, as well as Holst yarn and the Snæltan, the Faroe Island yarn. They're kind of a top favorite of mine now. But anyway, so Everyday Slouchy Beanie by Kristen of Dragon Horde Yarns. So those are my finished objects. I have 3 works in progress that I want to show you. Just kind of thinking, I guess I'll go with this one here. So in this here project, I love this fabric so much. It just reminds me of like nighttime in the forest or something. But this is a collaboration with Knitting Unicorns and a homespun house. And in this bag, I have a lot of little minis. I don't know if I can show them to you without them falling out, but there's just a bunch of minis here at the bottom. And I am making like a 9-patch. I showed in my blanket episode. I'm making mitered square, like 9-patch squares. And then I plan on attaching them all together. And I have 10 so far. This is my 11th. and then I need one more, and I'm gonna kind of spread it out and see how the size is, and I'm hoping I'm done. So this is the 11th. I have one more to make after that. I think that'll give me a good size, like a good lap size. Just kind of depends on how thick I make the border, but I usually start with the corner, which is the green square, and then I'll add you know, like the bottom row, and then I'll work up, and once I have that done, then I'll do the middle and finish the square. And I'm using Knit Pro Zings, which is a double pointed needle, but I bought these cute little I hope you can see them. They're called tulip, I don't know. They're like little tulips, but you stick them at the end of the, it's to basically to put on your needles so that you don't lose your stitches. But I bought 2 packs, and I got, this is a size 2 to 4.5 millimeters. That's this one. And then I got the size above that, but I wasn't using this size. The sweater I'm making, I'm using the size above, and I realized yesterday when I was working on this that this is perfect because my Knit Pro Zings are pretty short. You can buy longer ones, which I was using, but they, for my Cozy Memory squares, but when you have really long needles, they kind of just end up getting caught on things, and they were kind of making it not a very, the process of knitting wasn't very nice. So I shortened my needles, popped these on the ends, and now I can just squish all the stitches on, and I don't have to worry about them falling off, which I thought was pretty great. So I'll let you know how this goes. I kind of put my other Cozy Memories blanket on hold. I have to do the I-cord bind off, and I watched a couple of tutorials. I just have to pick it up when the urge to work on it takes over me. Right now, there is no urge to work on it. So I'm working on this and enjoying it because it's a nice, it's like a, you know, brainless knit. I can, you know, have it in a little project bag and take it with me. I can work on it when I'm, you know, visiting or talking with other people, and it doesn't, I don't have to think when I'm making it. So this is my first work in progress. Second one I want to show you is a sweater I'm working on. It is a test knit, so the pattern isn't out yet, but I'm allowed to share my progress with you guys, and I am keeping it in my basket here. I guess I'm kind of talking about my little notions that I picked up in the city as I'm showing you my works in progress, because that just feels more natural. So these are the other tulip for the bigger size, and I could just pop them on the end, and I don't lose my stitches when I, you know, have it in my little basket. But this is my Weronika sweater, Weronika with a W. It's a sweater, the designer's name is Aleksandra, and her Instagram handle is @VertAndRose, and she makes beautiful patterns. I saw this test call and I just jumped on it. I didn't even think, but we have 6 weeks to finish it, and I find that to be plenty of time. It has a beautiful collar that like dips down right here, and you end up adding I-cord like strings on each side, and you tie it in a bow. So this is a very like classy, just I think a beautiful staple in my wardrobe when I want to dress up a little bit, put a nice sweater on with jeans or whatever. And I've gotten pretty far. I've split for the sleeves, and I'm working on the body. It does have a beautiful cable going down the side, like the side seam has this cable pattern, and then you work the sleeves, and the cuff also has like small cable patterns And I just love that detail. I think I'm gonna love this sweater. I'm really enjoying knitting on it. It's a very enjoyable test knit. The group and everyone who's testing are just super helpful. And I'm just really enjoying it. So I'm not sure how much I have left of the body, but I think I'll be able to finish the body this weekend. So then I'll be working on the sleeves next week. And I don't think we have to be finished until the end of March. So I think I'm okay. Smooth sailing. What do I want to say? Oh, and the yarn I'm using kidsilk mohair. No surprise there. That is my go-to mohair. And this is color 32. This is a hand dyer from Iceland. And the company's name is Moth. I'll put it on the screen. But this is the other yarn. It's a fingering weight, hand-dyed yarn. And I think the fabric that it's knitting up in is just beautiful. Like, and the halo, and it's a little, not heavy. With the needles, it's a little heavy, but I think it's just going to be a beautiful, beautiful wardrobe staple. So that's my work in progress number 2. I want to show you guys 2 things that I'm doing as I'm knitting with this. So I have it in my basket. In my basket, I've got a bunch of stuff. Like this is a cable that I put on the body, on the needles of the body. Not a cable. I don't know what you call this, but you attach it on each of the needles so that you can try on the sweater. And I had some for the arms, as you can see. The green here is holding the arm stitches, but I needed for the body. So I picked this up when I was in the city a couple days ago, and I just chuck it in here. I've got more mohair. I've got my swatches in here, and I keep these just so that I remember how many I bought, which I could, you know, just write it down, but who does that? I have gloss in here, and my, you know, because I like to listen to podcasts or like stories on Storytel or Audible. But the funny thing that's in here is a dog bowl. Do you see it? So my dog is a little bit funny. I have this for my yarn so that it just sits at the bottom of my basket, and I just tug on the yarn and it just kind of spins and doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't get caught on any other things in here. And I just thought it was just one of those ideas that you act on and you're like, oh, genius. But the funny thing is that my dog, when I got this bowl for her, she would not drink her water. The day would pass and there would always be the same amount of water in here. And I was like, what is going on with her? And then I read somewhere, I have this, I had taken out like Raising Puppies book, like a couple books from the library about raising dogs, just as a refresher. I've had a dog before, but different breeds cause for different upbringings, I think. At least she's nothing like my other dog. So, and I read in there that sometimes they can get really scared of their reflection, and something about looking in here just threw her off. She couldn't drink water out of here. So this was not being used until now. And she has another bowl now that she drinks her water from, and everybody's happy. So anyway, I just thought this was a cool idea. It is steel, it doesn't break. I can, you know, if it falls out, I don't have to worry about it. It just sits at the bottom, and I don't have to worry about it. The other thing, because this is the fingering weight, the other thing I did is I have my mohair on this little spindle thing, and I'll take it out of I just have it in here, and then I'll take it out and I'll put it on the table in front of me. And what happens is, it's, this is the bottom, and then you just slide this on top so it's loose and it spins. And then I just add my mohair here so it's not getting caught in anything. It just sits on the table in front of me and I just pull from it, and it's like, it's making the process of knitting so much more enjoyable. I'm not like untangling, they're not getting twisted together. And this thing, I don't know where it originally came from, but I have this thing where on Saturdays I go to the local, I guess you would say it's like a thrift store. I call it the market, but it's a thrift store initially, or not initially, it is a thrift store. And I just kind of, you know, have like music in my ear. It's like my me time. I'll go, you know, walk around there. I love collecting like older things, like the pyrite, like dishware, and just old nostalgia things. I really enjoy it. So I always kind of walk around, and sometimes I don't see anything, and that's okay. I still enjoy going and taking a look, but sometimes I see gems. And last Saturday I went with my mom. She doesn't always go with me, but she came with me because we were going to go to the coffee shop afterwards. So I was like, oh, let's stop by the thrift store. I want to take a look. And she's like, okay. And we're just kind of browsing, doing our own thing. And she's like, Weronika, look at this. Look what I found. I had no idea what this is. I would have never picked this up. But I'm telling you, having a knitting guru, you know, there is advantages, of course. I don't think there's any disadvantages, but they know things that you just don't know. And that is this. And I am just so happy I picked this up. I have no idea what I paid for it, cannot remember. It was just maybe a couple 100 kroner, which is not a lot. And this has made like this past week of knitting my test knit sweater a dream. So I'm not sure where you can get these things, but they're very nifty and helpful, and something you absolutely don't need, but very enjoyable to have. So that is my Weronika sweater and all the nifty things I'm using as I knit on it. So I only have one more thing to show you. It's in here, and I have it in my smaller basket here. And so now I'm going to kind of talk about the store I went to in Reykjavik. So my little, my cousin had a birthday, and he lives about an hour and a half from us. So we decided to leave a little bit early because we had to drive through Reykjavik city to get to where he lives. And because I live outside of the city's like an hour from me, you know, when you're going, you decide, okay, what do I need while I'm there? And I drove with my mom, my sisters, my other two sisters drove together, and my youngest went with me, but she wanted to go with my sister. So me and mom were just kind of by ourselves, no kids with us, and we decided to stop at the yarn store. We found out that there was a new yarn store that had opened up, and it's called Iceknits, and there was a book there that I wanted to pick up, and I called, and they had plenty, so I was going to have them set one aside for me, but they were like, there's no need, we have plenty of them. So a couple of days passed, we're going to the birthday party, and we drive through the city, and I decide to stop at the store with my mom. And we walked in there, and my initial thoughts was that there's two other yarn stores in that same area, and from one knitting store, this one opened on the other side of that building, and I just thought, wow, that's like some competition. Like, that's, you know, and Icewear is a huge company. It's they sell outdoor clothes like you know, jackets and sweaters and all kinds of things. And now they had Iceknits, and we were like, huh, I don't even know, like, how do I feel about that? So we end up checking it out and to see what's going on and to pick up the book that we knew was there. And we were kind of blown away. They have, you know, they're offering something completely different from the other yarn stores. So they have their own, the wool is from the Netherlands, but this is a sock weight that I bought from them. And it's a 50-gram ball, 105 meters or 115 yards. And it says to use 4 to 4.5 millimeters needles. But this is the logo and the yarn. And it says here that it is manufactured for Icewear based on Icelandic experience since 1972. The only thing, and it's called Saga Yrja. That's the name of the sock base. It's 80% wool and 20% poly. The only thing that I think is kind of a little bit misleading is that it doesn't say where the wool is from on the skein, but when we went in there, the employers were super helpful. They told us right away that it's from the Netherlands, the wool that they're getting, and there's just endless variety of, like, okay, my dog's sleeping here on the floor, and she's yeah, sleeping pretty good. She's breathing kind of loud, and you know, if you hear any noises, you know what that is. But anyway, so there was just like endless variety, colors, types of yarn. They had just like a whole merino section. They had you know, just anything you need, you got it. But what they're offering is just their own brand of yarn. So they also had like hand-dyed yarn, Vassnes yarn that I've talked about before. Her yarn was there, and they have like books, all kinds of knitting books, but it was just so easy to shop there. They had, everything was labeled very well, and anyway, it was just a really nice experience because the employers were also super friendly, really nice, showed us all these things. Any questions we had, they had answers for, and they were just really friendly. So I decided to pick up some sock yarn, and because it's a thicker base, because I talked about doing fingering weight socks is kind of on magic loop, it's kind of just hurting my hands. So I started a pair of socks, and I kind of just put them aside for a while, but I wanted to try this. And let me stop babbling, I'm gonna show you. So I got two different colors. I got this like tanned one, which has, it's like it's spun with some white. And I also got a yellow spun with white, and played around a little bit. I ended up casting on 60 stitches because I want these to be kind of squishy, and it's a little frumpy because I've yet to wash it and everything. But this is the first sock that I made, and I made like a basket weave pattern, and I just cast on 60 stitches, did 1 by 1 ribbing for, I don't know, like 13 row repeats. And then because I had 60 stitches, I was able to have, I knit them on DPNs, and so I had 15 stitches on each needle, and I'm making up the pattern as I'm going, right? So I had to frog back a little bit and fiddle a little bit, do a little bit of math. And anyway, I ended up doing 15 stitches on each needle. I had 4 needles, and that meant that I had 5, I would do 5 knit stitches, and then 5 purl stitches, 5 knit, and I did it for 10 rows. And then I swapped and started doing purl stitches, knit, purl, and so forth. And then I did, I think this is called the Eye of Partridge heel flap. Turned the heel, went back to my main color, did the gusset decreases, and this was like 2 evenings worth of knitting. And then I just kind of tried it on. So I did 30 rows for here, and because I was working from the top down, I didn't know how much the yarn would last, so I didn't want to make a very long like sock, I guess. And then here I have 60 rows, and then I did the toe. So the feel of them, they're soft, but they're rusty. So it feels softer than léttlopi, but you can still feel that it's a woolly, you know, this isn't merino, it's rustic. And these are kind of, I'll probably just wear like regular, like thin socks underneath and have this over. And I cast on my other one. I did this the other day, and then I cast on these last night, and the yarn is saying that I need 4 to 4.5 millimeter needles, but because I'm making socks and I wanted to be able to knit the needles, not the needles, I wanted to be able to knit the socks at a loose gauge where I'm not like killing my hands. I went with 2.5 millimeter needles, so much smaller needles, but as I knit, I don't have to like, I don't knit as tightly when I have DPNs as opposed to magic loop. So, so far that sock was very enjoyable to knit. It didn't kill my hands like the magic loop does on 2.25 with fingering weight, because I knit that tighter to make sure that the fabric is solid. Whereas this, I just went down on needle size and it's working up pretty well. So I just started, and this is like a go-to project as well. I can just take it with me if I'm going somewhere. I want to talk about this book real quick. So this is the book that I went to the knitting store initially. I went there to pick this up, and I went to a knit night, a local knit night here. I haven't gone in many months, and my mom and I decided to go there the other day, and one of the ladies there was knitting a gorgeous sweater. I just saw the pattern, and I've never seen that pattern anywhere. And when you're super engrossed in knitting and you're really into this craft, you tend to know a lot of designers and things that people are making. So when I saw the sweater and I had no idea where it was from, I started asking, and then she told me that, and she had the book with her, and she actually just handed the book to me and said, I ordered this, it wasn't available here. But this is a Finnish designer. Her name is, I don't know how you say it. I would say Janna Kostet. This is her name. I hope it's not flipped. But it's called Knitting Kalevala. And the designer made a bunch of patterns. I think there are 18 total. Based on like mythical, or like the Kalevala has a lot of what are they called, like myths or stories, like your cultural stories that get passed on. And I think she said there's 50 stories in there, or poems, and she wanted to make a knitting pattern for each of the poems or stories, and she has 18 in this book. And she's like, let me just show you a couple of these. This is a sweater. My mom actually plans on making this as a Christmas sweater, having the main color in gray and having this in like a burgundy. And like there's just beautiful, beautiful patterns. There's one in here, the one that I saw here's like a bear motif. But what I thought was great, it has socks in here. This is the sweater that I saw that she was making. I just love the motif, and I just think it's very different and beautiful. And I want to read a little bit out of here. There's, I was reading it last night, and it kind of gives you an idea where her head was at, or where she, introduction. As the world went into lockdown in the spring of 2020, I started knitting sweaters based on poems from the Kalevala, the national epic of Finland. For a few years already, there had been a craze among Finnish knitters for Icelandic yoke sweaters, whose varied colorwork patterns lent themselves superbly to delightful color combinations. Observing the great popularity of Icelandic knitwear, I felt sorry for Finnish wool and wool producers. I thought that if the rest of the world knew how to draw inspiration from local myths, traditions, and mental landscapes, why shouldn't Finland? And then she goes into a little more detail. And then she says, why the Kalevala? I studied ethnology of folkloristics at the University of Turku from 2004 to 2009. Back then, I read the Kalevala from cover to cover. And when I grabbed my needles in the spring of 2020, thinking I'd knit an Icelandic-style yoke sweater suitable for outdoors, I was reminded of the first poem in the book, The Origin of the World. Knitting a sweater based on that poem felt appropriate when the pandemic was in full swing and it looked like the world was about to end. There are 50 poems or runes or cantos in the Kalevala, and creating a collection of knitting patterns based on them was a task that captured my imagination. And I just think that this is going to be so enjoyable to look. She has beautiful photography in here. And the motifs and everything is just, it's just different. I've never seen it anywhere, as this is the first finished book with this sort of thing. But I'm going to enjoy going through it and reading. And before each pattern, she has the poems. So she'll have the name of the pattern and then the poem from the Kalevala. So if you get a chance to flip through this, highly, highly recommend. I've flipped through it a couple times. I started reading it last night, and I'm gonna love making sweaters out of here. Well, I guess I could kind of do like a little bit of a chit chat. There's a lot going on this weekend. I am going to a birthday party tomorrow. And today I'm going to an art show that my friend is overseeing or has put together. And I'm very excited about that because it's like a collab, or she's like blending together artists that have made it, or, you know, that are producing art. And so Lily's awake. And all the way down to just kids starting out making their little artwork. So I'm really excited to go and see how that is. And then another friend of mine invited a couple of us to go to visit her. She's got a summer cabin here close to our town, and we're just gonna hang out and have some sushi and chit chat and go in the sauna, and I think it's gonna be a really great evening. If I can make some, or you know, get some footage, I'll do that and show it in my next episode. Some of you have asked to see more of their surrounding area and just kind of what life looks like here. And when I'm out doing things, I'll do my best of doing footage if it's appropriate. Like, disclaimer, life is very mundane here. I don't go travel a lot in the wintertime. So it'll just be little outings and things like that, walks with the dog and stuff like that. So I'll try to include that in my next video, what I'm up to this weekend. I appreciate you sticking around and chit-chatting with me, or making something, hopefully drinking something nice while I was showing you all the things. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you prefer longer podcasts or shorter ones. If you're sticking with me, you probably enjoy longer ones because I can't seem to make them under 40 minutes. Until then, I'll see you. Thanks for sticking around.